All right, you guys, we are going to do some order of operations review because everything hinges on order of operations. You need to know and understand order of operations. So we have that saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And they each stand for something. So P is parentheses, E is exponents. We have multiply and divide. And those are of the same importance, and so it's whichever one comes first going left to right. And then add and subtract, and those are of the same importance too, whichever one comes first going left to right. So order of operations. Now we're going to start out with some simple ones and then we'll get to more complex ones. The first one, let's do 48 plus 16 divided by 2 to the 4th power. So order of operations says parentheses exponents. We don't have parentheses, so we move to exponents. We do have exponents. So I am just focused on this right here. I want to find out what 2 to the 4th actually is, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now 2 times 2 is 4. This 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So I know that 2 to the 4th is actually 16. Now I drop everything else that I haven't used. And it says, I'm gonna actually rewrite it right here. So we've done parentheses, exponents. Now we're talking about multiplying and dividing. So we have an adding and we have a divide. Because multiply and divide comes first in order of operations, we deal with this first. 16 divided by 16 is 1. And then we can say, okay, 48 plus 1 is 49. That is my answer to this problem. All right, let's do another one. Let's do one with some parentheses because, and you guys will actually see an X mark out here. I don't love that there's a times out there. I like when it's just right up against it because we know when something is next to it, we know that it's multiplying. So we have bracket and parenthesis. Now remember, they mean the same thing. They're just a grouping symbol. We have to get rid of all of them. Divided by 9 minus 1. And then our next bracket. So whenever we're working with parentheses, especially multiple sets of grouping symbols, we want to always start from the inside and work our way out. So we worry about this first. 14 plus 31 is 45. Now, there are some of you who are going to be like, okay, I need to keep it in parentheses. We actually don't need it in parentheses anymore unless there is something that's multiplying it so that we can see that it's multiplying. But in this case, what's really happening is we are dividing it by 9. See that? There isn't anything else happening in our parentheses, so we don't need them anymore. So we can forget about this set of parentheses because we've solved for it. All right, everything else gets dropped down. Don't forget this guy out front. But because I am still working with parentheses, I have my next set of grouping symbols, which we call brackets, and I work with these now. So anything in here is what I'm working with. Okay, and we go through order of operations still. So parentheses I'm working with. Any exponents in here? No. Multiply and divide? Yes, I do have a divide. It's right there. 45 divided by 9 is going to be 5. And then I still have a minus 1 in there. So 5 minus 1 is 4. And that is going to be the answer of these brackets. So I am keeping them inside of it because what's out here is touching it. And that tells me really that it's multiplying. So 7 times 4 is going to be my answer, which is 28. And you want to do, always work from the inside out as far as bracket or parentheses go. Okay. Let's do some with both parentheses and exponents. 64 plus 3 cubed minus 4 parentheses 6 minus 2 parentheses squared. Okay. So now I have a little bit of everything. I need to start with my parentheses. My parentheses are right here. I can do what it tells me to do on the inside. So it's telling me 6 minus 2, that gives me 4. So I bring everything else down. 64 plus 3 cubed minus 4 parentheses 4 squared. So now what you guys need to realize is this. This right here, although there are parentheses, really it's just telling you to multiply, okay? So this falls right here in multiplication. This is our exponent that is connected to only this 4. You see that? So when we do exponents, which is next, that is what we do. These parentheses are really just saying to multiply. So realize that this is a multiplication. This is no longer in your parenthesis part of order of operations, okay? So now we've gotten rid of our parentheses. We did what was inside of them. We move on to exponents. We have 2 exponents. So this one is saying 3 times 3 times 3, 3 times, which 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So I'll put that right there. And then 4 squared is really 4 times 4. It's really 16, and I'll write that right there. I can keep it in parentheses because that's just telling me multiplying, and then I drop everything else down. So what I have is 64 plus 27 minus 4 times 16. Well, order of operations, I did parentheses, I did exponents. I'm working with now multiply and divide. So add, subtract, multiply. So this is my multiplication. 4 times 16 is 64. Some of you guys are gonna be like, wait, how did you do that? You can actually go back to like your old school times tables. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus 2 is 6. You can do it that way if you don't have access to a calculator, but anyway. So we have 64, we haven't used our minus, we haven't used 27 plus 64. Okay, so now that we see it like this, it's nice because I don't have to do 64 plus 27. I can actually do 64 minus 64 and they would cancel each other out. I hope you guys see that, and then your answer would be 27. If you don't, you're more than welcome to just go ahead and add and subtract. So if we add 64 plus 27 is 91, and then we would take away 64, which would give us back to that 27, and that's gonna be your answer. So hopefully you can process order of operations and why we do what we do. Now there is one more that I wanna go over with you because it has to do with a fraction bar, and I think some of you guys well, I know some of you guys are gonna be totally okay with it, and then other people are gonna be like, wait a second, what did she do to us? Okay, so you might run across something that looks like this. Totally okay. If ever you have a fraction bar like that, we know that that is divide. So we actually know what step that falls under. However, because all of this is on top, it's like saying this is in its own bracket, this is in its parentheses, and because all of this is on bottom, we say, okay, this is also grouped together. So what you want to do is you want to figure out the top, everything that's happening on the top, and then you want to figure everything that's happening on the bottom, and then divide is the last thing you're going to want to do with them, because you're breaking them up into 2 groups, and then dividing is the last step, okay? So let's figure out just the top. If I just have 17 plus 9 times 3, order of operations says multiply before adding. So I multiply these 2. I need 9 times 3, which is 27. 17 plus 27 gives me 44. So this is my top. 44 is my top. Now I'm going to figure out my bottom. So 15 minus 13 squared. Order of operations says parentheses first. So inside these parentheses, 15 minus 13 is 2. I actually no longer need parentheses. 2 squared is 4. Do you see that? And then divide is what's happening between them. So I would say top divided by bottom, or I could even say 44 over 4 if I wanted to put it back up into this form. And I would get 11. Either way. 44 divided by 4 is 11, or 44 over 4 is also 11. So it works out either way. I just wanted to show you that this is really breaking them up into 2 groups. You have your top group and you have your bottom group. And then you have to do order of operations in both sets of those, okay? Know it, love it, work on it. it doesn't ever go away. Sorry.